by putting together our list of ingredients. You'll need 1 kg of beef mince, finely chopped onion, 1 finely chopped onion, some Parmesan Reggiano or a cheese of some description, so a Parmesan or preferably a harder cheese. You'll need some salt, some pepper, parsley and an egg to bind. That's it. Very simple recipe. You can put some garlic in if you want to, but it's purely optional. We start by cooking the onion. That's really important because you don't want to be eating a meatball and have raw onion through it. So it's important that you cook your onion in a bit of oil in a pan first. So that's about 1 onion. I've finely chopped this previously, so it's about 1 onion. I know that. So you cook that gently in a bit of olive oil or butter or whatever you want, or any old oil will do really. Whilst that's cooking, we'll prepare the rest of the bits and pieces. So in this bowl, I've got 1 kilo of fresh beef mince. It doesn't have to be lean, expensive stuff. Any beef mince will do. Supermarket, $6.99 on special, etc., etc. It's all good. Into that, you put some seasoning, some pepper, salt, plenty of it. Important to season your dish properly. A good handful of breadcrumbs. And you can use stale bread, just blitz it up in the food processor, or you can buy it from the supermarket, the cheapest chips. But it helps to bulk out the meatball and means the dish goes further. So a couple of handfuls of breadcrumbs, Parmesan or your hard cheese, again, how much is up to you, but a good couple of handfuls should see us right. Move those out of the way. And then some fresh parsley. Now, if you've got a garden at home, this is easy enough to grow. That grows everywhere. But again, it's something that's reasonably cheap to buy, especially from the Sunday market. Make sure your onion doesn't overcook. Freshly chopped parsley. Just roughly chop it, doesn't have to be too exact. This is a very rustic dish. Right, so in that goes as well. And you want 1 egg. That's all you need. This will help bind the whole thing together. In there, like so. Easy peasy. And now you can sort of cook it out. I like a bit of garlic in mine, so I'm going to put just the 1 garlic clove, finely chopped. And again, you'll need to cook this garlic, raw garlic, because it can be a bit much. Put it into the same dish as the onion's cooking in. It needs less time than onion. If you cook garlic for the same time as onion, it will turn bitter. So it just needs a couple of minutes in the same pan as the onion. And we're just about good to go. So there's your basic meatball mix minus the cooked onion and cooked garlic. There's no way of avoiding next stage. It's a bit messy. One that the kids can do, which is simply to bring it all together in the bowl. Takes a couple of minutes. Right, to that we'll just add that cooked onion. Right, so onion's great, it acts as a base for, carries all sorts of flavours. By cooking it first, you sort of sweeten the whole thing up. Right. Oh, just mix that onion in quickly. There you go, there's your basic rustic meatball mix. Now you can adjust this as you see fit. I think this one needs a few more breadcrumbs, so I'm going to throw half a handful or so in. You want it to be firm but not wet. Alright. Here we go. Basic. Now there's a kilo of mince, some parsley, onion, breadcrumbs, egg to bind. Piece of cake. Next thing is to roll them out. For that you'll need a tray of some description to cook them on. Very simple. Helps if you have slightly wetter hands. Helps if you have slightly wetter hands. So, all you're looking to do is to take a portion of the meatball mixture. You'll get it right eventually. You want something about the size of a golf ball. About that size. Okay. Now, for 1 kilo of beef mince, it should yield about 80 meatballs. No, sorry, that's wrong. It should yield about 40 meatballs, which is quite a lot. That's 5 sort of family-sized portions. Kids will eat 2 or 3 of these. Adults will eat 4. But from a kilo, you should get 40 meatballs, which is pretty economical. Really. It doesn't take very long. You get better with practice. You sort of pinch a little bit off, and you get all roughly the same size. It's not really important how big they are. You don't want them too large, nor do you want them too small. But it's important that they're all the same size, because they'll cook at the same rate, which is pretty important. More important than the size per se. We'll just do 8 of these, and I'll show you the next step. Right, so you can see it's pretty quick. You just sort of get into rhythm. It's pretty quick, and in all honesty, you'd be paying, if you were to go down the supermarket and buy a meatball such as these, for those 8 meatballs here, you'd be paying $10, $12, something like that. So do it yourself. You'll be saving yourself a fortune. Right, so there's 10. Done in pretty quick time, double quick time. This is something that actually the kids can do too. It's not difficult. Right, there's 10. That's probably enough to be going on with. Next step is to get a pan. A bit of oil in the bottom. You are going to fry these off. It helps to caramelise and just add flavour to the meatball itself. So you want it on a sort of reasonably high heat, sort of medium tending towards high. And all you do is wait until that oil comes up to a temperature. It's quite straightforward. A couple of minutes. Right, so the next step is to seal or fry off the meatballs. You do that using a pan, obviously, with some hot oil in the bottom. Enough to fry the meatballs in. Put them in one at a time. I tend to sort of gently roll mine as well. It means they're coated in oil. You'll hear a gentle sizzle. You're not going to hard fry these. All you're doing is sort of sealing the outside and caramelising them. So we've got those meatballs in the pan now. You can see they're just frying gently. Give them a wee toss if you want to. Just make sure they're all sort of brown on all sides. And the next thing we'll do is get on with the basic tomato sauce in which you cook these meatballs. You're sealing them off now. You finish them off in a basic tomato sauce. And there's nothing more simple than basic tomato sauce. All you need, once again, is a few onions. I've got some oil in here. I've got some chopped onions, so I'll just pop straight in there. This is a very basic tomato sauce and really yummy. So get a handful of onions, no more than that. Seal, cook those off. You can put garlic in this if you want to. You can add fresh oregano, you can add fresh herbs, but it's a basic tomato sauce which all the family will enjoy. It's just onions, tomato, and seasoning. Right, so they'll seal off in there very quickly, it doesn't take very long. Just keep an eye on the meatballs, make sure they're cooked gently. Right, so, meantime you've got a couple of tins of tomato. Because this is such a basic sauce, it pays to get quality tomatoes. Certainly tinned tomatoes are preferable to out of season fresh tomatoes. Summertime, if you have access to really ripe, good tasting tomatoes, use those, but who has that really? Tomatoes in New Zealand are grown not for taste, they're grown for colour, shape and longevity. So I find that tinned Italian tomatoes especially are far superior. Meatballs are browning up. So you can give them a wee toss. Don't get too chefy about it. All you're doing is really seasoning them, searing them off. You're not cooking the meatball here, all you're doing is searing them off. So they've got nice brown on the outside. Onions are cooking nicely now. Give them a touch. Alright, and goes your tomatoes. I'm using a really big commercial pan here, but really any thick bottomed pan will do at home. There. Like so. Because I'm using such a big pan, I'll just throw in a few more. Feed the whole fire now. Right, so we've got a lot of tomato in there, there's a bit of onion. What you need to do now is to season it, and you do that using plenty of salt. Salt's your friend. So plenty of salt. Plenty of pepper. These all add flavour. And then really importantly, a bit of sugar. Grant, can you pass a bit of sugar over me? Beautiful, thank you. Tomatoes are naturally quite acidic. The riper the tomato, the less acidic they are, the sweeter they become. But even a ripe tomato does have a degree of acidity. So never does any harm to throw a couple of tablespoons or so of sugar into the mix. You'll find, depending on how many tins of tomatoes you use and how much onion you use and the type of tomatoes, you'll find that some will require more sugar than others. It's just a question of experience, I guess. So that there is a basic tomato sauce. All you need to do is cook that for about a quarter of an hour, medium heat, and you're away. It's as simple as that. Meanwhile, your meatballs are now sealed off, so you put those onto a tray. Point the pan away from you so the oil runs off, and scoop the meatballs in the top. There you go, brutto buono, ugly but good. These have now been sealed off and they'll be cooked in that sauce once it's brought up to temperature. Tidy, heavy meat. Right, that sauce is now going to come up to temperature very shortly. You don't want to overcook this tomato sauce, otherwise it takes on a sort of cooked, pasty taste. You want it to be as fresh and tomatoey as possible. So, depending on how much you're cooking, perhaps quarter of an hour, 20 minutes at a gentle simmer, or cook that tomato through. In the last 10 minutes or so before the tomato sauce is finished, throw the meatballs in and you're done. Pair that with some pasta or a carbohydrate of some sort, whether it be potatoes or rice or whatever you like, or even just by themselves with some crusty bread, and you've got a meal fit for a king, which is both, well, which is delicious, nutritious, and cheap and good to prepare. Right, so it's now been 10 minutes or quarter of an hour, and that sauce is starting to cook down nicely. It's nice and hot. Now is the time to put the meatballs into it. So again, we've got our meatballs to one side. All you do is drop them in, like so. Give it a stir. So now the meatballs are in the sauce and they're cooking now. Another 10 minutes, 12 minutes, cook these meatballs until they're hot all the way through. If you're unsure, take one out, break it open, pop it in your mouth. If it's hot, it's cooked. Right, now these meatballs have been cooking in the sauce for about quarter of an hour, 20 minutes. They're hot and they're cooked. So all that remains now is to serve, dish up and enjoy. So we'll pop these into a plate. quite a decent sized meatball, 4 to a portion is normally plenty. Like I said earlier, you normally have these with pasta or carbohydrate, some sort of potatoes or whatever, but right, a bit of tomato sauce over the top. Like so. Mandatory that you put a bit of parmesan, a bit of parsley, and voila, meatballs.